Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. Last week we talked about how we were going to talk about wandering this week. I had so many requests to talk about wandering. Wandering in your patient in an assisted living who has dementia. And for those of you who are caregivers, how do you prevent your person from wandering? Well, quite honestly, 6 out of 10 people who have dementia are going to wander. And even being the most diligent caregiver and keeping your eye on your person and really watching them minute by minute, they're still going to wander. They're going to wander around your house. They're going to wander, maybe to the basement or to the garage. But really, it's a matter about how do we keep our person safe if they're going to wander? Or how do we prevent wandering in our person who has dementia? So I think that some of the things that we need to look at as caregivers are, number one, first ensuring that all of their basic needs are met. Has your person gone to the bathroom? Are they thirsty? Are they hungry? Are they in pain? If you can watch if your person's nonverbal, if you can watch their nonverbal signs, like, watching their face, or are they grabbing at an area on their body to tell if they're in pain, or if they're, constantly chewing with their lips or with their mouth, and watching to see, kind of what they're doing. Look at those nonverbal cues if they can't speak to you and tell you what their needs are. I know that some of my patients actually, use alternative words for things that they want to say. Like if they're hungry, they might use the word belt. As an example, with one of my patients, when he uses the word belt, it actually means that he is hungry. And the staff that works with him has come to know that. So they are able to make sure that he gets a snack when he starts to get a little bit agitated and starts to wander in and out from room to room. Because while his actual wandering is not disruptive to him or to the staff, him walking in and out of another person's room can be very disruptive and then set behaviors off in the rest of the residents that live there. I think that planning a routine and sticking to that routine is really important. If we, as caregivers, know that we have to be out the door and be ready for work by 8 or 9 o'clock, deciding that you want to give your person a bath at that time probably isn't such a good thing, because they're going to feel that you're in a rush and that you're hurried, and they're going to pick up on that, and they are going to start to, they might start to wander at that time. So carrying out a routine and sticking to that plan for your person's sake. If you can identify a time of the day that wandering is most prevalent, make sure to plan around that. So, for example, if your person starts to wander, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, maybe planning an activity about that time. If you can task your person, if you can give them tasks, maybe having them fold towels or doing something like that will really benefit them, so that they're busy. So that they become busy at that time, so they don't have that built up, pent up energy. So planning a task that they can do. For those of you who are still taking your people places, number one, there does come a certain point in time where taking your person with dementia out causes more consternation for them than it does causes them pleasure. So really deciding if it's appropriate to take your person out still may be number one. But if you're going to take them out, avoid those places that are busy and can confuse them and cause disorientation. Taking them to a shopping mall or a grocery store or another busy place might not be such a good idea. So if you're going to take them out, maybe look in your community and see if they have dementia-friendly restaurants or dementia-friendly coffee shops. They are out there. You just have to kind of look around and see if that's available in your area. If you have a person who wanders and you are keeping them at home and taking care of them at home, Put locks on your doors, but not the typical locks that they're used to, because remember, that's part of their past memory. So they still know how to operate a lock, but put those locks out of sight. So either using a chain lock at the top of your door, using a chain lock at the bottom of your door, or placing those almost like baby locks around your doorknobs are helpful too. So if you live in a 2-story home and you want to keep your person from wandering to the basement or wandering into an area of your house that's not so safe, putting those toddler doorknob things, I think that I can't, One Step or One Sight or something like that. We used to have them when my son was little on all of the doors so that he couldn't get outside. But getting those and putting those locks higher or lower than their vision, they're not going to think to look higher or lower. So putting those slide bolts at the top or bottom might be a good idea to keep your person from actually wandering outside and getting lost outside in the snow or in the weather. Use those devices that will signal if your person has opened a door or a window. So maybe in their bedroom, placing those chiming alarms that will make a sound. I don't really recommend probably like the chair alarms or the bed alarms unless you're, really afraid that your person is going to leave, because if your person takes pressure on or off that while they're sleeping, it's going to wake them up, and then they may wander at that point. Obviously, this is a given, but providing supervision, even if it's just for a second, like, I'm going to run to the corner store. Never leave your person with dementia unsupervised, because things can change for them. Hey, Lisa, thanks for joining. I'm really glad to see you. Hope you're doing well. So providing them supervision, never lock them in the house and think that they're going to be okay there without you, because there's other things that they could do, such as turn on the stove or put something that's inappropriate in the microwave, and then next thing you know, your house is on fire. So providing them constant supervision, if they're at that stage, if they've progressed into that stage, you want to make sure that you're constantly providing supervision. This is a little bit more true for men than it is for women, but getting those car keys out of sight. If you're like my house, we have a key rack, and when we all come home, we throw our keys on that key rack so that we can, remember where we put our keys. But if we need to move cars around, we can have everybody's keys in one spot. If that's something that you do in your home and that you've always done that in your home, move them. Because the worst thing that could happen is your person who had their driver's license revoked thinks that they can still drive, goes and grabs those keys, gets in the car, and backs out of your garage with the garage door down, or pulls forward, or even is able to get out of the garage and make that move to start driving down the street. Now, if your person hasn't given up their driver's license yet because you haven't had that crucial conversation about taking their driver's license away, make sure to have a GPS installed in their car. I'm talking about the old kind of GPS, not the kind that's on our phones like Google Maps or using Siri, but I'm actually talking about like an old TomTom or something like that. So put that, up for them so it's easier for them to be able to navigate and use. Let's see, a Facebook user. Can't see who you are because you haven't registered with StreamYard, but you say, just had this conversation again with my mom, who is constantly asking why she can't be left alone. It's tough to get them to understand that. Yeah, 100%, especially when your person is at that stage where they're like a tweener. Where they still have enough of their old memories, and yet they're progressing to those unsafe areas. And so if there's a way that you can flip that around for them, so where it's not like you're telling them or you're implying that you're there to supervise them, because you're still her daughter, and in her mind, she's looking at the situation like she needs to still care for you. So maybe if you're not living with her and you're going to her house to kind of be with her, you can, oh, hi, Marianne. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. So if you can have that conversation with her and tell her that you're there for a visit as opposed to being there to supervise, watch, or make sure she's okay, maybe start to bring over things that you need to do, like make a plan to talk to her about something like a project or something that you're doing, and include her in on that, and stretch out the length of that project so that it's something that she is involved in, if that's something, if she can still comprehend at that level. So involving her in what your day to day is, as opposed to making it about watching her. Most of the time, she does not know who I am. She thinks I'm her caregiver. She lives with me. We also have a camera. Yes, really, that's a really good thing to have, is those cameras. A lot of times that happens in a lot of situations where an adult child moves a parent in with them. Not everybody is fortunate enough to have an ensuite or to have a home that's close to their home, that's on the same premises. Because I think Lisa and her mom don't live, like they're very, very close, I think, if I remember correctly. So maybe setting them up so that they're just independent enough in your home, like in a little ensuite area or her own space, but you've got that camera, and that's really, really smart, having that camera there so that you can still view what she's doing and make sure that she is safe. A lot of times people, getting back to the wandering, a lot of times people who feel that they're lost or abandoned or they're disoriented, like Marianne says, I don't, my mom on most days doesn't recognize me. And that's probably super confusing to her, who you are, hard on your heart, right? Because your mom doesn't remember who you are. I can understand how difficult that can be. But if your mom is disoriented and she's feeling like she doesn't know where she is, the first thing that she might do is she might try and leave the place that she is because she doesn't feel comfortable or safe. Well, we need to provide our person that safety. So reassuring them that they're okay, even when they're saying that they want to go home, or maybe they want you to go home, and just get out of their space. A lot of people with dementia like their own space. Maybe they weren't that way before, but maybe that's where they have changed, because I look at dementia not so much as a staged thing, not so rigid, not like a stone or a gem type situation, but more of a fluid. We go in and out of different phases. And then as we start to get to the later part of the disease, that spiral starts to go more down than having good and bad days. But if they're at the place where they can be reassured, maybe they weren't so, maybe they were a people person back in the day, but now they're not that way. So remember what I've always kind of said, we have to respect and bring ourselves to where they are right now. So wherever your mom is right now, that's the person that you need to be for her. So I know it's super upsetting, Marianne, when your mom doesn't recognize you, but maybe she recognizes you as a caregiver. And if she wants her space, as long as she's safe, then give her that space. Reassure her that she's safe, that, she's free of harm. Nobody's going to harm her or bother her or touch her. As long as she knows that those things are there, then maybe she won't be apt to wander or leave your house. So letting them know that they're safe and that they're peaceful. Making sure that your person is staying rested is really super important, because although they might not be able to communicate with you that they're feeling fatigued and tired, they may be at that point where they're actually overtired and they start to fidget and get fidgety and start to wander. They may even start to curse. That might be very common. And then all of a sudden they're super agitated and now they're wandering to the windows, to the doors, and trying to get out. You can be the most diligent caregiver. You can be the most loving caregiver. You can be the most providing caregiver, and you're doing the best that you can, and wandering can still happen. Last night I was doing an interview and we were talking about, people wandering, and in Florida, they have something called a silver alert. So if a person with Alzheimer's goes missing, or they've wandered off, an alert goes off, just sort of like an amber alert, but it's a silver alert to let us know that somebody who's aged has gone missing. And it's really super important that if you're living in a town where where you can have a relationship with your police department, I would let them know that you have a person in your home who's living with dementia. And in case, for a couple of reasons. Number one, if they wander off and for safety's sake. And number two, if they somehow get your phone and they're constantly dialing 911. It's an issue. It happens. But just letting the police department know, letting that 911 operator know at this address, my mom, my dad, my husband, my wife, whoever it is, has dementia. Just so they're aware. And then always keeping a recent picture of your person. I can't think of how many times, when Max was going to school, when my son was going to school every day, I would see him. Half the time I drove him to school before he got his license, but he would get out of my car and he would go inside the school. Now, I don't remember what my son wore every day, by any means, nor do I ask that you do that either. But if you ask me what my son looked like, I could pretty much describe him down to the beauty marks where they're at. But keeping a recent picture of your person in the event that they do wander off so that you can give that to the local police department is very important. And then they can pass that along to the media so that they can put that picture of your person up. So maybe every couple of months, as you notice your person changing, because we can lose our collagen. So what they look like at 40 is not going to help them if your parent is 80 or 90, because the face changes. So make sure you've got a recent picture that you can give to somebody. Also having in place would be really important for you to have is a phone chain. Who are the people that you can count on? If you're living, Lisa, I noticed that you said that you live 110 miles apart from your mama. Well, if something happens, you need to have that phone chain of who can get to her the quickest. Same is true with a person who wanders. You're going to want to call your brother or 911, your brother, your sister, your whoever, those people that are close if you're distant, and get those people, going into action and making sure that everybody has a plan on how to help find your person. Keeping track of those places where your person might have traveled or went to, especially for those drivers, where they might have went before, is going to be really important, because that may be where you find them. So if they had a job, or if there was a place that they like to go, church or a certain grocery store, keeping that list handy is going to be important, because they may, return to that place. Another thing that you can do is, most iWatches, if your person will wear them, most iWatches now have GPS. I know that there's really great devices that can actually go inside of your shoes. And then there's the pendants that people wear, like you can push, like I've fallen and I can't get up, like those type of things that are different than that particular device, but that actually have GPSs built inside of them so that you can keep track of your person in the event that they get lost. But it's really super important that you have that plan in place. So I hope that some of these things you can start to implement. I think some of the biggest ones, like I said, are having a routine and a plan for your person, making sure that their basic needs are met, and then putting those locks on your doors that go to the outside in a higher or lower position to keep them out of the reach of your people. Something as simple, I've seen it in some of the assisted livings that I go to, a very simple sign that says shop closed, and putting that on your exit doors is sometimes enough to deter your person. So if it's as simple as you going over to your computer, putting a sign on you're printing a sign that says shop closed, back in a few hours, on the inside of your doors so that your person reads that may be enough to play a little bit of a trick on the mind. So when they walk to that door, they're like, I guess I don't want to go in here. And then they don't even use the door. They turn around and they start to wander back toward their bedroom. I always keep a key on me in case she locks me out when I go outside. Yeah, that's really important too, right? If we're going to put these mechanisms in place, they can always backfire on us. So definitely having a key to get back inside your house. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be the worst if you got outside and then you couldn't get back in to get to your person and yet you could see them. So yes, definitely having a key in the event that they lock you out is really super important. Well, let me know this week if you decide to implement any of these for your person who wanders. Let us know how they work for you, or if you have something that you've used that has prevented your person from walking, let us know, because like I say, if we don't share what we know, then somebody who doesn't know what they don't know isn't going to know. So always sharing is caring. Let's get that message out there for our people who are new caregivers and for those who are caring for their loved ones. I hope that everybody has a great rest of the week and weekend, and we'll see you next week.